It's recording. Do I look over there or do I look at you?
You can look at me.
Oh, okay.
That's fine, yeah. Okay, so thank you again for agreeing to do this career interview assignment with me.
Okay.
Let's get started.
Okay.
Let's get started. Okay. So what is your current job title or position, and how long have you had this position?
I'm a registered nurse. I have an associate's degree, and I currently work for Orlando Health. That's the main corporation, but I work at Arnold Palmer Hospital, and I'm a clinical RN3.
Okay.
And I work at the emergency room for kids.
Okay. I'm not gonna write anything to this.
Okay.
And how long have you been there?
In the emergency room, I've been there for 7 years, but total, I've been a nurse for 16 years. This May will be 16 years.
Wow. Okay. Very nice. And how did you reach this level, the level of being a clinical RN?
So for the organization has this, it's called the clinical ladder.
Okay.
So when you start, you're always a clinical RN1, and you can choose to move up or not.
Okay.
But if you move up, then the incentive is a certain amount of money per ladder.
Okay.
So I make $1.25 more
Okay.
on top of the base pay that a starting RN does.
Okay. Okay.
Plus the years of experience. So I'm a clinical RN3, which entitles you to have a certificate or a bachelor's degree. I have a certificate. What else? A certificate. You have to do two resource jobs for the department,
Okay.
which I'm a nurse preceptor, and I do chart audits for the department. And those chart audits, they use it to keep up with like OSHA, or like to make sure that we're documenting everything that we need to be.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like peer review. Like I
Okay.
only chart audit them so to make them better. It's not for them to get in trouble.
Gotcha.
So if they're not doing it, then I just go up to them and tell them, can you make sure you're doing this, because I'm chart audit. I'm doing your chart. I'm auditing your chart.
Okay.
For example, for pain assessment.
Okay.
So if they haven't done their pain assessment appropriately, I can just go up to them and be like, you're not doing this properly. Make sure you do it, because I'm auditing your chart. But also, like randomly, I just pick however charts I want a day,
Okay.
and then that's how we do it. So I do chart audits. I'm a nurse preceptor. I have my certificate. I have more than 2 years nursing experience.
Yes.
And so that's what that's how I got to a clinical RN3.
Okay. Great. Thank you. When choosing your career, what moved you to want to be a nurse?
Well, there's really no specific reason, but I had already been in college for 3 years I had an AA, and then I was just kind of like wasting time, or, taking classes, random classes here and there.
Okay.
And then I realized that I was getting older, and I was wasting time, and I was wasting money. And I was always kind of fascinated by those shows, like medical shows on TV.
Okay.
So I was like, well, let's try this and see how I like it. So then it took me a while. I was at Valencia.
Okay.
But I couldn't get in that program
Okay.
right away. So because there was like a huge waiting list, and I ran into a girl that had taken biology with me, and she was taking it at Seminole State. It's called Seminole State now.
Okay.
And that's how I went over there
Oh, okay.
and got in that program.
Awesome. Okay. And what's the most gratifying or satisfying part of your job now as a nurse?
Mainly being able to fix most of a kid's problems. Like in the setting that I work at, is almost always is something you can fix.
Okay.
I'm an emergency room nurse, so if they go for an earache, they have an ear infection, you give them medicine, it makes me feel better. It's not like that all the time, but making the kids feel better, and in the process, making the parents feel better about it.
I can see how that would be satisfying.
Yeah, and it's not always easy, because it's more difficult to deal with the parents than the kids, but, you know, kind of work your way through that. You know, a lot of these parents are demanding of things that don't really have to do with what they're there for, like you're taking too long, or we never brought them water, like stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Which we try, but we can't always do that and do our job right at the same time.
That makes sense.
So.
That makes sense. What are some of your strengths or talents, and how do they help you fulfill your role as a nurse?
Well, one of my special strengths, I'm bilingual. I'm fully bilingual in Spanish and English, so that's one of things that helped me a lot. I feel like with time, you know, my skill level has gotten better, so my hands-on skill level is, you know, might be stronger than some of the people that haven't been there for such a long time. And in my department right now, there's only maybe like a handful of people that have been there for as long as I have or longer than me.
Oh. So
they really use me as a resource, you know, younger nurses or, you know, people that are not familiar with what they need to be doing. Really get used to a resource.
Okay.
Especially starting IVs and drawing blood.
Gotcha. Okay. That's definitely something that will be useful.
Plus the language skills too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Spanish speaking people. Sometimes I can help people that come from Brazil because they kind of speak a little bit of Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And too, as well as along with those things, a lot of people say, you know, our strength, we're not familiar with our strengths. When we, you know, until someone helps us tap into them. So, strengths like being able to, are you very outgoing? Are you more shy?
For the most part, I think I'm more reserved. Especially with my coworkers, as long, you know, until I get to know them better, or you know, sometimes if I don't feel comfortable with how they do things, I kind of try to stay to myself because I want to protect my job. You know, I know we work as a team, but at the end of the day, it's my license. So if I don't agree with the way you're doing something and you think you're doing it right, if I try to tell you I don't think you're doing it right and you're not receptive to that, then I just kind of back off to myself. But for the most part, I think I'm more to the shy part.
Okay.
I mean, I try to be as outgoing as I can with the patients and stuff, and also with my coworkers, but I also try to be watchful of, you know, how they, you know, what their work ethics are, you know, how they do their things before. It's not that I don't become their friends. It's not a matter of being friends. It's a matter of, you know, if I don't think you're doing something right and you're not receptive with, I'm trying to explain to you that it's not right, then you don't want to, you know, listen to that, then I don't feel like, you know, I'm not your boss, you know, I tried to help you as a coworker, but I can't tell you what to do, you know?
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
Then I kind of reserve myself more, which I really should probably try to make them understand a little more, but I mean,
you can only do so much.
You can only do so much, and in the setting we work at, it's like always like really the turnover of the patients and stuff is really high, so there's not really, some days there's a lot of time to try to help people and teach them, and some days you're too busy for that, you know, so there's not always the time to do that.
Yeah.
For when they decide they want to be receptive to whatever you're trying to tell them.
Gotcha. Okay. What are the downfalls of your job?
I would say the biggest downfall of my job right now is working nights, but that's my choice. Only because I'm a single mother and it works better for my life. But as I've gotten older, it's gotten more difficult to, not my job, not when I'm at work, when I'm outside of work, to function. Because I feel like I can't, before, a couple of years ago, I used to be able to work 4 days in a row and turn back to the daytime and not sleep, but I
Mhm.
can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I have to sleep
Gotcha.
during the day, and so therefore I'm almost always 90% of the time I'm up all night,
Yeah.
whether I'm working or I'm off.
Gotcha.
But you just gotta learn to, manage your time different.
And how do you? Because that's one of for me. I know I struggle with managing time, especially and you with being a single mother. How does that and being a full-time nurse? How does that work? Like, how do you manage time? How do you manage to manage time? As a
You
single
just
mother?
kind of have to work. For me, it's like a routine, whether I'm off or not. So I sleep while he's at school. So I'm back home by 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I get up at 2 every day, whether I'm working or I'm off, because I have to get up and pick him up from school. So then at 2, like at that time, it kind of starts my day. So then I pick him up from school, we do homework, whatever, if I had to drop him off at gymnastics, and I don't have to be at work until 6:45, so I have time to do those things.
Okay.
And then I go to work and start all over again. And if I happen to be off, then most of the time, because I slept from 8 to 2, then I'm up in the middle of the night anyway, so I just kind of do laundry or I clean up, around. I do the most I can without, sometimes you can't pay bills or you can't make special phone calls, but then those things I have to do during the day. But, most of the time I just kind of work around it that way.
Okay. So you make it work.
Yes, I have to. I have
Yeah.
to. Because he's too young, since I'm a single mother, I don't want to put those responsibilities on other people.
Mm-hmm.
So until he gets older, then I still have to.
Take care of it. Makes sense. So